Welcome to Shop Talks. It's a presentation of InKitchen.com. Check that out. We have a YouTube channel. This is being recorded and will be up there, as are all our talks at all the shows, Fort Worth, Long Beach, and Atlantic City. And they're all brought to you free due to our sponsors, or because of our sponsors, Los Angeles Apparel and AlphaBroder, Stalls, Transfer Express, LAT Apparel, Hirsch, Howard, and Lane 7 all make these free, both in the video form and live and in person. We're going to talk for a little while about matching up your shop with the customers and rejecting some customers, etc. I know they have some strong opinions here. And we've got Dennis Tan from Ampersand in New York City. We got Aimee Derouen from Mirror Image in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and Peter Rinnig from QRSTs in Somerville, Massachusetts. And the co-host here is Stan Banks from the T-Shirt Side Hustle. So take all customers at all times, right, guys? Peter with the biggest laugh, you want to start?
Sure. QRSTs we sort of have become a hybrid operation. We have about 9 digital presses in-house and 6 heads of embroidery. We used to do screen printing with 2 autos, and because of landlord situation and COVID, we actually got rid of our 2 autos, and now we sub out all of our screen printing. And we're sort of a production facility, and so I'm very hardcore about customers. If we start seeing emails that someone, I've told Rick in the past, the amount of emails is in direct opposite proportion to the amount of shirts that someone wants. When you start seeing, 15, 20, 25 emails and they want 3 shirts, they have a Microsoft Word document. We try to do a couple things with someone like that. First, we have an online shirt designer and we point him that way. We're very adamant. We are not doing your artwork. You want to order 1,500 shirts from us? I have no problem doing your artwork. I'm not going to charge you. If you want 3 shirts, here's the online designer, or send us good quality artwork. If you want us to do it, we're going to charge $75 an hour, minimum of 1 hour. I don't care if it takes us 5 minutes. And that either gets rid of that person, or they'll go on the online designer and send us in something. That's great. But you gotta watch the amount of emails, and you have to read the emails. And I'm not perfect. Sometimes I don't see red flags, and I don't want to hog the mic from him, but can I tell a quick story from literally
Please do.
last week?
He's not perfect, but he does reject more customers than anyone else I know.
I have no problem. So we tell people if they're becoming adamant about a due date, or you just know that it's going to be a horrible situation. I just tell people we're a production facility. You need more of a boutique place, and we send them. And I actually have 2 or 3 other screen printers that 1 or 2 I don't like, and I send them their way. And there's 1 or 2 that are more boutique-y. They might be working out of their garage or something, and where they want the work and they don't mind spending time with this person, and I'll send their email address too. So there's those. But like, there was a lady last week, 3 shirts, white shirts. We digital printing. We sent her a link to explain digital printing that's on under what we do. And she ordered 3 shirts, and looking back, I could see red flags, but I didn't notice it. And there was already about 10 or 12 emails for 3 shirts. So we did the 3 shirts, she picked them up, and later that afternoon, she calls, she doesn't like them. It's like, what do you don't like about them? I don't like how they look. It's like, well, I look at what we sent to our digital press to see if it was the correct artwork. Perfect. She actually did send in good artwork, and it's like, well, we did the job properly. And she's arguing with me on the phone. And one thing I've learned since COVID, for 3 shirts, I'm just not going to argue anymore. I used to really argue with the customer, saying, we did it perfectly, you can't return them, go screw yourself. And now with like 3 shirts or something, it's like, you know what? return them. I'm going to give you your money back. Don't ever come here again. And I said that, to her. And she's like, well, I want to place another order and do it a different way. It's like, well, you have a choice with us. You can keep the shirts as is. We print them perfectly. Place another order and we'll embellish it a different way. Or bring back the shirts, which I don't normally do. I'm not a Kmart, I'm not a Target, but I'll give you your money back and don't ever come here again. And she couldn't understand that. She's like, well, I'll sign something saying I won't return the second batch. It's like, that's not how it's gonna work. She complained to her credit card company. Her credit card company emailed us, and I basically copied and pasted these emails saying, I have no problem returning these things, but you're never coming here again. And usually a credit card company will just give the customer, take it back from me and give it to them, and that's the end. They actually said to her, you need to return the merchandise in good order, and QRSTs will give you back your money. And you have 10 days. On the 10th day, she returned them, and she still tried to argue with me in person that she wanted to place another order. And I just said, no, that's it, go somewhere else. Now I'm waiting for the Yelp
Running
review.
a business is easy, right, guys?
Yeah. And then you get the 1,500 shirt job where they send you one email, they send you the artwork, and they go, here, I need an invoice, we need it, a week from Friday. And you send them the invoice, they pay for it, and it's a 15-minute process. Sorry.
Aimee, actually, so we have an adjunct to the rule of no more emails than shirts, which is a really bad sign. So what's the new one we came up with, Gio?
Well, currently, if it's more than a 2-to-1 ratio, shirts to conversations, like I'm over that customer, ready to fire them before they've even completed the job. I've once had a 50-piece sweatshirt order where I was up to 79 emails.
And didn't we just have to revise it for the guy in the office that came in? Not just emails. Minutes per shirt also?
Minutes per shirt, yes. Visits.
So a guy was in for 45 minutes for 30 shirts, I think. When people are well-meaning, you can't make money that way, right?
I really like this narrative where it's like emails to shirts. I want to start timing everything like that because it makes so much sense. It's 100%. I'm actually the opposite of Peter. Like, I don't even take on these 1 or 2 piece orders. If you're doing less than 100, I don't even talk to you. It's not even worth my time,
Well,
So how did you determine that number, and did you always do that?
I think what happens is when you're starting off, all business is good business, right? You want to make everyone happy.
No. You think all business is good business.
Yeah, that's correct.
There's a difference.
Yeah. Not all business is good business, but when you're starting off, you can't recognize the difference. So you think, hey, someone's sending me this way. I'm doing free stuff for someone else. Never give out free stuff. That's one of the best tips. Because what happens when you give out free stuff? All the people are going to want free stuff, Or if you do someone a favor, other people want a favor too. But yeah, when we're starting off, we're like, people be like, hey, I want 1 or 2 shirts. I'd be like, fine. But nowadays, it's not even part of our scope. They're just tire kickers. They waste time. You got to figure out what makes you profitable. I think Peter brings up a really good point about contracting stuff out. I think you got to provide a solution for your customers. Like, we don't do less than 2 shirts. I'll send them down the road to someone else who does 2 shirts or someone I don't like because it makes them waste time and money.
I see a theme here.
Yeah. Don't open shops near us, or we'll burn you down. Yeah.
You find yourself getting referrals from Peter or Dennis, you might want to look at yourself in the mirror.
So how did you guys refine your business to figure out what type of customer it was? So we all come in, we want to say yes to everything going on. So how do you exactly take what you've been doing? How long did it take you to kind of like iron these things out? And what were you looking for to say, you know what, this is my ideal demographic customer base that I want to deal with?
Well, I think for me, it was trial and error. Rick is very famous for bringing me projects with hard deadlines that we've never done before. And so I am now in the
challenge. She likes the challenge. I can do that, no problem.
I'm now in the position where I try to circumvent the emails before he sees them so I can determine somebody said in the previous talk, you have to know your shop, know what you're good at, and that's what I try to do. Like, I know we're not good at team orders where the backs get different names and different numbers. That's not up our alley. We're not good at those. There's a lot of room for error because we're not set up like that. So I try to have the shop that I don't like or the shop that I really like to refer them to.
I'm going to chime in. I think a lot of it is time analysis to figure out what your shop makes money on. I know Rick's probably subject to this fault. I am too. As a business owner, you want to do all the jobs because you bring him in, you're like, hey, it looks like it might be good money. I know we talked about this in the past. Anyone know the Here for Good campaign during the pandemic? Anyone part of that? During the pandemic, everyone was shut down, so we started selling shirts for businesses to try to raise money. Some people did well. I lost money on that.
Yeah, we did badly.
Yeah, just because we kind of jump on the bandwagon that everyone else is doing. So that's one of the things. Don't follow what other people are doing because they might put you out of business. Luckily, we actually stayed pretty busy during the pandemic, but it wasn't the case for everybody. So you sometimes you spend more resources trying to allocate or trying to do something new.
A lot of us, I think, are tinkerers or we like to figure stuff out, problem solvers, and you got to watch yourself. I did finally get, we have a term for it, arts and crafts. So that's going to be an arts and crafts project, and you don't want to take too many of those because they don't make you any money. You might be able to figure out how to print that weird garment with the weird graphic one time. In fact, I think I figured out anything that we ever had to do. That doesn't mean I should figure it out, and that's, I think, kind of a lesson to learn the hard way.
So my shop, we have 9 digital presses, and we do a lot of online stores, and so my employees are very used to doing one-offs, and I have absolutely no problem doing a one-off. And so, but it goes back to depending on what you're using to embellish a product with is how to take an order in. So if someone wants 1 shirt to 10 shirts, and basically if I can do that invoice within 15 minutes, I'm making money. It's like, give me the artwork, here's the invoice, approve the invoice, pay for it, my guys print it, it's done. And I don't know what everybody charges differently, and you should because different areas do differently. I'm literally almost downtown Boston, front and back Gildan G200. I charge $32. So, I can make money off that all day long if you don't start getting 10, 15, 20 emails for those 3 shirts.
Right.
I think the time that it takes to go back and forth is something you don't consider when you're starting out, right? So now where you starting out, you're going back and forth. We're only looking at how long it's going to take us to, if you're cutting mine or your screen, how long it's going to take us to do that job. But that dialogue back and forth, thinking about it and trying to go back and forth with that customer, sometimes just waiting around, you may not have a lot of jobs, but you're waiting around for approval so that you can move on to the next phase. Sometimes that actually it ends up costing you a lot more, where that $32 an hour in 15 minutes, that $32 for that item in 15 minutes, it's going to take 2 minutes for you guys to run on a DTG machine or whatever the case is. It ends up it'll take care of that person's labor for an hour. It's quick. You just throw it in the middle of whatever else you got going on, and it's done quick. But over time, the more dialogue that you have with customers, and I think, you guys put it into a different term. I'm like, you're just wasting time. That email ratio or that conversation or that text message that's coming back and forth, that job is now took you 2 hours to do something instead of taking you 10, 15 minutes because it should have been quick.
All right. So how about everybody's favorite customer? The guy comes in and they want 12 shirts, but they're going to sell 1,000. They're going to be huge, and their friend is really famous is going to wear the shirt, and it's going to be huge. So can you just get them done inexpensively because they're going to do a lot later?
I need it at the 1,200 piece price today, and then I'll be back next week.
What I do, I give it to them at the 12-piece price, and when they come back for the 1,500, I'll give them that 12-piece for free. I'll take it off the 1,200 shirt order.
But
Great
the
way.
key
And
is
how
they
often do you
pay
do
upfront.
that?
It's happened once in 5 years, but they'll agree to that because, if I sell these 12 and come back for 1,500, I'm going to save $200.
Right.
And they never come back.
We
It's
actually
the
have
play on words.
Be absolutely adamant with your customer. Don't be wishy-washy. I have told customers face to face, please go somewhere else. I had a person on a press check once, and all of a sudden I started hearing him yelling at my printer, and it was a large order at that time, and I think it was over 1,000 pieces. I forget, but he was yelling at my printer, saying that he was doing it incorrectly, even though it was all proofed and everything. And I walked out there and I just said, "Go away! I'm giving you your money back. You do not yell at my employees, and you have to, you have to do that with your customer. Be hardcore, yes or no."
I think there's a pretty big distinction too between like a new customer acquisition and an existing customer too. So like existing customers, you try to help them if they're a good customer, right? If you can't help them, you can outsource it so that they can get their product. New customers are totally different. Like new customers, you can't be giving them, bulk pricing for these things because they waste your time the entire way. Yeah, we'll charge them. We usually do like $50 a color per screen. Per piece, so we charge them a lot. And if they ever come back, yeah, I'll credit you, which we've never done before. But,
When it comes to like, once you identify who are, do you guys put together packages, or is there certain like areas that you push people to kind of like, I guess, create a value that, hey, I'm dealing with small businesses, I'm going to have a small business package. Is that something that you guys have done?
Well, I think it depends on like our business model. We have a lot of repeat customers, and we kind of tend to some of them we've had for 30 years. So we know them, we know what they like. It's very easy to make sure I happened to see a new garment yesterday that I think they'll like, and I'll just send it to them and kind of create the sale and customer service. That way they know that we're looking out for them. Other customers, we just straight up brand new customers. Here's the price list. This is, there's no variation. Frequently asked questions here. All the info you need is right there.
yeah, we don't really have small packages because, like I said, new customers are very dangerous. Those are the ones you kind of need to look out for. If they're coming from a new place, they have expectations. And if they're a new customer, they need a lot of hand-holding, right? If you're looking to make more money, existing customers are way easier than acquisitions. That's the big thing. So we don't do these small packages because then we do small packages and then we just attract more small package customers,
That
Yeah.
is actually true. At one point, we did analyze our customers, and you think, oh, these small customers will become big customers.
Yeah.
They don't. Doesn't happen
Doesn't
that
always
often.
happen.
It really no.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that often. Honestly, they send their other small customers too. Which are small customers are fine if you're oriented that way. We in particular are not oriented that way. We don't have the systems for it, so we don't do that. So what about the customer that comes and suddenly wants 5,000 shirts out of the blue? Is that just great?
If they actually order the 5,000, yeah, it's great. But also a lot of hand-holding, right? People don't just, I don't know.
Say they've been doing work for years
Uh-huh.
and they have 5,000 shirt order for you. Do you just always think that's great?
Not always, because there's a lot of red
There's a
flags.
leading question here.
A lot of red flags go up because what happened to the old printer? What kind of
That's
pricing
what I'm
are they
getting. That's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. Did they not
know?
pay them, perhaps?
Yeah, that's one of the things. Anytime, that's what I'm saying. New acquisitions are always tough because an existing customer comes to you. Yeah, a lot of red flags go up. You got to think about it. I don't know what these guys think.
Well,
We actually have a group also around Boston where we exchange information and warn people that's, hey, this guy's going to probably come to you and he didn't pay his bill or whatever.
Thank you for bringing that up. So in the Boston area, like Rick was saying, there's a bunch of us. We're all competitors. We're all friendly competitors, and we get together once or twice a year, and we'll have emails going, this customer paid, this customer didn't pay. So don't, you're getting a little off topic about customers, or unnecessary customers, but you should think about don't think of your competitor down the street as your competitor. Think of him as your frenemy or whatever. If you guys talk to each other, you'll realize it could be someone who's just shopping around because they told them to go. If I sent them to someone else, and that person might know that also to blow them off too. Can I just make a comment? And
Go.
Sorry if I'm talking too much. And it's not how to get rid of unnecessary customers, but to keep some of your customers too. I don't some of my best customers. I don't discount my rates to some of my best customers, but what I do, I put them to the front of the line. I will cater to them. I have one customer. She gives me almost 10% of my gross, and she usually does screen printing and embroidery and digital printing, but she doesn't know enough which way to go, and I will absolutely bend over backwards to help her, point her in the right direction on how to embellish it. Or she might have a trade show on Friday, and I go, look, I can't have this screen printed by Friday, but I can do digital printing by Friday. And I'm going to put you, we're 3 weeks out on digital printing, but I'm going to have it for you Friday at noon. And so you don't have to discount your better customers, but think of other out-of-the-box ways that you can help them. And that way because if you discount them, then they're going to want to discount the next time.
You can do that because you're managing your time with those other customers. It's freed you up to give customer service to your existing customers.
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
If you waste your time with people that are bad fit, you
Yeah.
don't have the time for the good fit. I
Right.
think that's totally true.
Going back to the beginning, if I wanted to, I'm starting out and I wanted to get to the point where I had a customer base that I could say, hey, I got a 72-piece minimum or I got a 100-piece minimum. How, if you were starting over today, no customers, how would you build that business?
I knew this question was coming because that's a great question. Because if you're starting off, you gotta, even for us, we get people who ask us to do vinyl wraps, to do car wraps, stickers, posters, banners. Like, we don't do any of that stuff, right? You gotta outsource it. Find someone who does do it, or send them to Peter because I don't do single piece orders, but he does single piece orders, right? We have a single head embroidery. We don't have 10, 20 heads, but we know friends upstate who do them for us, and we contract those out. We keep the single head just for show and just to do samples, but yeah, you gotta contract most stuff. Outsource the things that you're not good at or you're not proficient at. I think that is the big key.
That was, I think, your first talk, Stan. Contract pricing, right?
No, right? Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I can't tell you if you're trying to figure out like a simulated process print, you'll spend more time and money trying to figure out if that's not your client base, you know? Like for us, we do mostly single color, 2-color, 3-color works. I'm in Brooklyn. That's just the style we do, but we don't do simulated process. I know a lot of guys upstate, you know, other places, they do a lot of that kind of work, which we never
We do a lot of work for other people because
Yeah.
we have a 16-color press.
Exactly,
What do you
yeah.
need a 16-color
Yeah.
press for if you're going to do
Yeah.
one job like that
Exactly.
a year? You don't need to.
Right.
But you got to find someone you trust. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yes.
That's why you're here, because if you look around you, everyone here is a printer, and everyone here is actually trying to learn and try to better themselves. So make connections. If you need contract printing, Rick. If you need single pieces, you know, talk to Peter, you know. If you want to learn how to screen print, you got Stan. And then me and Aimee are just here for emotional support, so. Yeah.
Some questions?
Yeah, let's go to questions.
Any questions in the crowd? No? No?
Don't be shy.
Going once? Start that over. Going once?
How about anybody with a good story about a customer that they blew off?
Yeah, this is a good bitching session if you don't like any of your customers. This is kind of the place to be.
Any questions? Comments? Wow.
No one's ever had a bad experience with a customer before?
Everybody's
Ever?
going to get rid of all their unnecessary customers.
Here's another thing. I think you should always be constantly firing your bottom 10 to 50% of customers and replacing them with better ones. You know, every year you want to evaluate. Customers that you had in the beginning that were a good fit might not be a good fit as you grow. Because like Rick said, not everyone grows, you know. Like in the beginning, we had people who were doing like 10, 20 pieces and we were doing it for them. But we grew and we can't do those orders anymore. So you need to replace them with people who do the 100, the 1,000 piece orders, the 1,500 piece orders, the 5,000 piece orders, whatever it is.
You know, that is true. I just realized, you know, I have an easier time remembering the couple of them that we sent away than I do even the big ones coming in.
Right.
Who are those people? We sent them their films. Remember, that was... anyway, we had a customer. They were just taking so much art time. They didn't want to pay anything for art. Small orders, always complaining. And like at the end of the season, we didn't screw them. We kind of, you know, gave them notice. And at the end of their season, we're just like, you know what? In the future, find somebody else.
It happens.
Here's your films.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I'll pay you to go away.
Question?
All right.
Sorry, question.
It's not really a question, but it's something we've learned that it's almost like when you're in a bad relationship and someone comes in the door and they say, oh, it didn't work out with my last screen printer. We now see that as like a flag to say,
Big red flag.
it was you, not them.
Yeah.
And we actually are like, who is it? So we can call them and find out why it didn't work out, because it's like we just had one in and they ended up going somewhere else because they said their shirts they got from their previous printer were ugly and didn't feel good. So they sent us a picture and we're like, sure, yeah, we can see what you're talking about. And then we did all this new proofing for them. We got into the 10 emails and they ghosted us. And when we came back, we did all this beautiful artwork for them. And they were like, yeah, we just went somewhere else. And they went back for the same exact shirt that they had the first time around.
I think you lucked out for sure.
So always look at it as like a relationship, and if it was them that had the problem in the relationship with the printer, I say ask a lot more questions.
Yeah, I think that is really good advice.
Yeah. We actually, with Steve from Kaleidoscope, we actually had someone about a week ago that said that they didn't like their former embroiderer, and we want to come to you. And they sent us the artwork. And the proof that they sent us was from one of my competitors who comes to our little group meetings. So I called him and I said, who is this person? It's like they want to come to us. And they said, you guys weren't good. And Steve truly said, don't go there. And I just said that, I told him we were working 8 weeks out for embroidery. So that was the
You
end
New
of that.
England guys are so nice. We're in New York. New York people just want to burn each other down. I'm like, we don't have these groups, but it's nice that you look after each other.
Yeah, another one.
Peter, for you, you alluded to I'm waiting for the bad review from the customer you blew off that you said.
I can't hear.
Sorry, you alluded to the fact that you were waiting for a bad review from the customer you blew off.
Yeah.
That you said, I'm not going to work for you anymore. What's the thought about that? Are you more likely to get a bad review from somebody who you just, you're doing the emails back and forth and you're basically like, nah, I'm not going to work for you? Or are you more terrified of the review that comes in if you do the work and they don't like you? How do you handle that?
So we have we have 60 or 70 Google reviews. We have over 100 Yelp reviews. And I would say out of all of them, there's probably maybe 2 or 3 bad reviews. Out of those 2 or 3 bad reviews, 1 or 2 are probably correct. Everybody screws up, whatever. I don't care. I do care about reviews, but on the other hand, I know the quality of my work. I know the quality of my work. I know, and if someone is intelligent enough from a customer point of view, they're not going to look at the one bad review and go, I'm not coming here. They're going to look at all of them. And if this person leaves a review, I'll actually respond to that one. Sometimes we screw up. The guy writes the person writes a bad review. I'm not going to respond because I was wrong. But if they write a bad review and it's truly not that we did it correctly and properly, I would respond. So
I think the hard part is, as an owner, you take it too personal, right? Because when I get a bad review, I take it personal. Not that I've gotten one, maybe, but most of our business comes from word of mouth. That's kind of where we build our business. So we limit the amount of bad reviews, because if someone's coming to us from word of mouth, I know they're going to be reliable. I know they're going to be good. And if you do good work for your existing customers, you're going to bring in more of the same customers. People who look at reviews are generally new customers, which is people that I stay away from. These knock on the door. I get people call me. It's like, yeah, I need my nurse outfit embroidered or whatever. I'm like, wrong person, man. If you're reading reviews, I'm not the guy for that. But, we do a lot of restaurants, and I want to connect with other business owners, other restaurant owners who do a lot of shirts, because they're the ones who churn a lot out. If you want to look at good businesses like construction, restaurants, people who just go through sports leagues, go tons of shirts a season,
Yeah, I mean, you're going to make mistakes. I think actually your best customers, you'll have made a mistake with them and you will have resolved it, and they trust you so much after that. It's really almost, I think, almost better than doing a good job for someone for a long time is if you had something go wrong, because then they know when something goes wrong again, which things inevitably do if they're not an idiot. They know that happens. They'll know that you will always resolve it positively. And our most loyal customers, we've always screwed something up over the years, and we've always made good in some way. And they're usually very reasonable people too. I mean,
we went through that last week.
Right. What happened, right?
We had a 2,000-piece job that essentially had the same print on the front and the back, but the tagline was to be taped out on the front. My crew neglected to tape out the front, so the entire front had the tagline. And I knew I had 2 options. More than likely, the end customer, because my customer is the middleman, they probably wouldn't have noticed. So if I had sent them out they probably would have never noticed. But my customer has the expectation that I'm going to be completely honest with them. So I called them up. They went back and forth with their customer who wanted the complete job 100% free. We would have had to pay for $6,500 worth of shirts and reprinted the entire job. But our customer argued with their customer, and we came to a resolution that we ended up printing the backs at no charge.
So I got a question for you guys. We've identified kind of like our ideal customer, who we want to work with. A lot of print shops just rely on people to come in the door. Are you guys doing any type of outreach to that customer base once you've identified them? So, are you doing, outside of word of mouth, obviously, but are you doing any outreach to the construction company, to the restaurants, and what does that look like?
I think that's a great question. I think when you're starting off, it's going to be different than where you are when you're established. Right now, we only do word of mouth. We don't even advertise. We don't do social media. We don't do any of that. When you're starting off, you should really pick a niche, something that you're good at, something that you're passionate about, something that you are focused on. Like if you only have a 4-color press, then don't sell more than 4 colors, right? Because you're going to get in trouble for it. But you really want to pick a niche and really send target ads. At that point, maybe do some free stuff just to get your foot into the door, get that trust and reliability, and then you just start building on that. It takes time. Nothing rises and falls overnight. All these things take time. That's what you got to realize.
I think part of that too is ignoring that ratio that we use. You might have to put that more time into getting that initial customer base than we would, where we consider like 2 emails to 1 shirt is not doable.
Yeah, actually, the biggest customers we have, the average was almost 3 years from first contact to sending lots of work. It's a very long process.
Yeah.
You have to prove yourself usually at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then in terms of sales, definitely target people, I think, are a good match.
And for reaching out and stuff, we've built up, we use Constant Contact, and I think we have over 7,000 emails. And when we send something out, about half the time it's just generic, and we only send it out once a month. We don't bombard our customers with these emails. Half the time it's just generic, hey, we're still here. Sometimes it's very specific. Like once a year we'll send out a Constant Contact email saying specifically, this is what we do. Just as a gentle reminder. But and then social media for us. And that's the only advertising we do at this point.
All right. Any more questions, comments? Those are good comments. Thank you, both of you. All right. How about a hand for our panelists here?
We got a question back there.
Oh, all right. Wait.
Question or comment?
Sorry, it's a question. So I know what we do is different from most other industries, is that it's still an artistic element and it's subjective to the customer. Customer can be like, that's not the red I wanted, Sure, we all know. Is there anything any rules of thumb or recommendations you have to managing customer expectations up front? Because we know, to me, that's where a lot of problems that you might have later could be solved in managing the expectations up front. I was just curious if you guys have any rules of thumb or things that you do regularly.
You absolutely have to manage it up front. We have right on our mock-ups about the differences between monitors, et cetera. We use the PMS matching, but there is going to be some variation, and you have to be upfront with your customer to avoid problems later.
And we always we have a disclaimer that I've taken bits and pieces from disclaimers from like Mirror Image and 3 or 4 other places, and I've made it into my own disclaimer. So when we send a proof in an invoice, that disclaimer's on the bottom. So at least, more than likely, they didn't read it, but at least it's there. Sorry. Also, we're very clear of what we do, and we explain with pictures and everything. Like we do screen printing, digital printing, embroidery, and so we'll send a link from our website. If someone doesn't understand digital printing, here's our page on digital printing. It has pictures. And we go in depth what digital printing is. So hopefully that explains it to the customer up front.
When you start talking about the art in this business and applying it, you're talking about more the boutique type of work, and I'm assuming you got like a customer base that where you're color matching and all of that kind of stuff. You really have to set the flow of your whole order process, almost looking at that and kind of dissecting it in a way that it makes it simple, but it's kind of like a step-by-step that they can walk themselves through as you do it for them. So, if you're going to be doing I would say standardize your colors. But if you're doing the artistic side of it, now you have to really explain what the color matching is, and you have to kind of go through that part. Okay, we got artwork. Now you got to pick your colors. How are they going to get to that through the different types of monitor? How are they going to know what PMS color that they want? Even if they went to search it and what they see on screen is going to be different from the actual book. So maybe everything you do they may have to come in, and you might have to create a process where they're sitting down with someone and you're walking them through that process hands-on more than anything. The art side of the business is the part that I don't like, right? I just want the school that's going to say, okay, red is red, and we have, our 16 colors on the card. You pick your colors, but when you get into that boutique style, that artsy style, you're going to have to really set that flow of how the customer matriculates through the final process. You talking about on-press proofing, when it's coming off, can you be here in an hour, we'll send you a picture. Like all of those steps that you may have to take so that you don't end up running the job and they get rejected and coming back. And I looked at a lot of this on the West Coast. So if you're ever able to get into some shops on the West Coast, they have a better flow than we have here on the East Coast with dealing with that type of customer because of the way that they're set up versus we're set up more on this side to see shops that are running high volume, low margin work more so. And you go to the West Coast and it's a completely different showrooms. Everything looks completely different, and they've worked out that process and what it looks like.
I want to add to that. I think the biggest part is managing expectations, like you said, right? So the first thing I do is when we get a customer, I have to feel them out. See, are they going to be difficult or are they not? Are they going to bitch? Are they going to want their order for free, right? So if I know they're going to be difficult, I have them come in, take a look at our samples. This is the type of work we do. This is how we print out white. Is it opaque enough for you? Is it smooth enough for you? What are you looking for? If I know they're going to be difficult, we always match all the colors. We Pantone match all the colors so there isn't a discrepancy. You picked, 185 red, it's going to be 185. I didn't do any magic to it, right? At least we try our best. And if we really need to, we have them come and show up for a press check before we print thousands of shirts for them. And that's usually for a new customer. Like I said, word of mouth is best because, if someone doesn't like this stuff, people are like, well, your homie sent you over and they love their stuff, so you blame your homie,
Yeah, I think anything out of the ordinary, you really have to manage the
Yeah.
customer. So any special effects like metallics or discharge, anything like that. So if you're going to print discharge, there's going to be pinholes. It's going to happen because you can't see them till they go through the dryer.
Yeah, 100%.
So if they know ahead of time that they got to live with that, that's a lot easier than selling it to them afterwards and explaining why it happened. At the beginning, it sounds like you're educating them. At the end, it's an excuse. So if they want glow in the dark, they're not going to be able to read a newspaper. They really, I think they always, metallics are going to be shinier than they really are. They're going to dull in the wash. You got to explain these things, and then it works versus trying to make excuses later. And it's a really big thing. If you have a giant image, it's going to feel like shit. You better tell them that, right? You could just, if you want, if you're Peter, you just say, hey, you ordered it, you got it, shut up. But it's a lot better to ahead of time say that's going to feel terrible. Or if they wanted it water-based, it's not going to be even. If it's 14 inches round, you're going to have some areas that are not perfectly shaded. If you got halftones, people look at their monitor, right? Shows thousands of colors. You don't have that with a 65-line halftone. You're going to get banding. It's going to look more banded. You got to tell people those things, and then they can live with it, as opposed to them throwing a fit when you're done.
And one thing I've thought of when we make our invoices, and I learned this years ago, in sometimes even a good customer, a regular customer, whatever, we now, instead of saying something is 4 inches left to right, we say approximately 4 inches left to right, because there could be shrinkage when the shirt goes through the dryer, or even literally have had customers pull out their ruler and it's 1/8 of an inch off, and you said, so we write approximately.
I love that one, yeah.
We have a saying, actually, once they get the ruler out, you're fucked.
If you have any customers who do that with your shirts,
but that's where
fire
approximately comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. Any customer who comes out with the ruler for every shirt, they got a problem, and they're going to be your problem. So get rid of them immediately. Yeah. They're looking for faults.
When I see the conversation headed that way with the new customer, I explain to him right off the bat, I have humans loading these shirts. There is going to be variation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even when we get robots, the shirts are made by humans.
Yeah.
All right. How about a hand for our panelists? They're all going to hang around for a few minutes if you have a couple more comments. I want to thank our sponsors one more time. It makes this all free. Los Angeles Apparel, AlphaBroder, Stalls, Transfer Express, LAT Apparel, Howard, Hirsch, and Lane 7. Check out our YouTube channel. This will be up there eventually. And thanks to Impressions, the show here. Thanks for coming.